Hi all and welcome to another video. With the holidays coming up, let's break down the best ways to start the Republic and the Separatists in Star Wars Legion. Last month I did a more Galactic Civil War era, this is the Clone Wars era. Price averages will be touched on in the box sets and the final list, so if you're actually buying something more on sale. A good realm is a lot of units are like the individual characters are 14 to 18, the boxes can be anywhere from like 25 to 35, roughly, depending on where you get it and what sales you get. Just some basic things to know. Most games of Legions are at 800 point, but they can be played at 500 as well. These come unassembled and without paints, so plastic nippers, a hobby knife, and super glue are a must. Plastic glue works with everything in the Clone Wars range that is currently released, except I believe the LAAT/LE. As long as it is a hard plastic and not a soft plastic, it works. So something like Bossk, which was released earlier, is a soft plastic, so you need super glue, but the hard plastic glue works just fine. A legal list also requires one commander and 3 core units at a minimum, which is super easy to hit, but something to keep in mind when we go over some of the lists later on. Going into the starter box for the Republican Separatists, it gets you a solid start for both factions. It is $100. Splitting this with a friend would be $50 apiece, and you get more than your value out of it. For the Republic, you get Obi-Wan, 2 squads of clone troopers, and a BARC speeder. For Separatists, you get General Grievous, 2 squads of B1s, and a unit of droidekas. Similar to the other box set, you get about 440 points for Republic, and due to point changes, only about 380 for Separatists, as they were a little undercosted. So getting into just a basic rundown of the Republic and what you want to keep an eye out for and buy. Since half of the start collecting only gets you to 440 points, it is best to pick up another core unit. Your options are limited with Republic, really just to Phase 1 and Phase 2 clones. In the Republic, a good buy is the Battle Force at around 140, but it isn't always the best buy. The Republic Battle Force is a full list, however it is very ARC Trooper focused. The Republic can also rely very heavily on mercenaries. Both Black Sun and Pikes can be used with them to pretty good success. There is a Wookiee battle force that is very good, and we'll go over a list of it soon as well. The Republic is an elite army compared to a lot of other Star Wars Legion forces, so let's run through some of their units. Starting with their vehicles, the Saber Tank and Infantry Support Platform are both really good vehicles, and when manned with Cody can be amazing with his buffs. The Infantry Support Platform is one of the most solid anti-droid weapons the Republic has, but is lacking in other ways. A duo Anakin and Obi-Wan list is always fantastic, bringing arguably the best duo of anything into a tabletop game is great, and they work really well together. You also get access to Yoda, who acts as a supreme faction leader type and is very, very strong. For troopers, the Phase 1 and Phase 2 clones are your real only choice. They are semi-equal, both do things good. The Phase 1 are a little bit better at fire support and have a better anti-vehicle upgrade you can put into them. The Phase 2 generate their own surge tokens, so they kind of act as a slightly different thing, as the surge tokens let them get surges to crit and dodge, which in game turns means they hit harder and they live longer. So, slight things, but the Phase 2 are usually just slightly better. They are, however, also one of the most expensive units in the entire game. At least core trooper wise, I should say. For special ops, you have variety, but ARC troopers and Wookiees are the best right now. For vehicles, we already talked about them, but the BARC is also amazing. It is a really good and solid speeder. They do also have access to a transport, which is the LAAT/LE. It's not terrible, but it costs a lot sometimes, and it's always not worth taking at times, in my opinion. I am eventually going to buy the model for my Republic list, though, just to say I have it, because it's big, and it's a cool big. And there aren't many things in Legion that are big. At least not yet. So let's get a bit more into the meat and potatoes of the Republic. For this list, it is just the 501st Battle Force. This would be $140 even. With it, you get Anakin, 2 Phase 2 clone troopers, and 4 sets of ARC troopers along with an AT-RT. The AT-RT has been upgraded with the laser cannon to be semi-anti-vehicle, and the 4 groups of ARC troopers have a variety of upgrades. However, all of them have the JT-12 jetpacks. They also have the DC-15X ARC Trooper, which are really good at killing enemy lightsaber wielders, or just really anything that can possibly ignore or shrug off hits. For the Phase 2 clone troopers, the basic upgrades I gave them were the Z6 for a lot more fire support, and the Mortar Trooper, which gives you a lot longer range on that one unit. Anakin himself is built with Force Choke, Saber Throw, Offensive Stance, and Tenacity. Offensive Stance can also switch to Defensive Stance depending on what you want to do, and that generates tokens for you. While it does make it kind of harder and focus in on something, it also is good token generation in a list that otherwise doesn't really have a ton of it. Now, in general, the way you would run this list is honestly focus heavily on the ARC troopers. Get them to places they need to be to deal a lot of damage or keep objectives. They are going to be your bread and butter. They're going to be the thing that win you this game. Also, my upgrades here are not technically the best. These lists are what I think would be fun to run, and that is it. I am not someone who believes in chasing the meta. However, there is ways to make these better for the points you get. This is just under 800 points. That's fine. I will be doing this a lot where you'll see all of this, and it's not perfect, but it's something I think would be fun to run. So let's go on to the next list. I am calling this the Dynamic Duo because I was in a Batman mood when I wrote this. It is $240. If you were to split the starter box with someone, it would be only $190. We are looking at Anakin and Obi-Wan. Anakin built very similar to the way he was before, however with Burst of Speed tossed in there just for fun. The reason Burst of Speed is in there is while Saber Throw gave him a ranged attack, having Obi-Wan here allows him to have Saber Throw and Force Push instead. Giving Anakin Burst of Speed means he can go really far in one turn and possibly deal a lot of damage to someone, which is just kind of fun to do. R2-D2 is here because he can give you an extra victory point. That is the only reason he is here. I tossed in some Phase 1 and Phase 2 clone troopers to kind of show a little bit of variation. The Phase 1 clone troopers being the Z6 trooper, the RPS-6 trooper, and another Z6 trooper with a medic. Medics that can also heal back units. Now the reason they have an RPS-6 trooper is for some solid anti-vehicle. However, Anakin and Obi-Wan do have the anti-vehicle thing down themselves. If you charge a tank with a lightsaber user, most likely it will go down really, really fast, so just keep that in mind. Also, the ARC troopers have Echo, up close and personal, and targeting scopes. This is a unit of ARC troopers that is meant to be up in the enemy's face a little bit, get some extra dodge tokens, and have a nice free aim token to use when needed. And now, the Wookiee Defenders. This is about $170. However, it was hard for me to kind of tell because a lot of the prices on the Wookiees were varying depending from website to website because my local game store did not have them in stock. So, give or take $20. We have Chewbacca with Tenacity and Duck and Cover. It just makes him way better in melee. We have Wookiee Chieftain, Commanding Presence, which lets him get a lot of orders off for Wookiees who you kind of want to spread out since you don't have that many activations. Hunter and Tenacity. And then we have 3 units of Wookiee Warriors. 1 long gun, 1 battle shield, and 1 bowcaster. The battle shield is built for up close and personal combat. The long gun is also built for up close and personal combat. This was a mistake on my part. I meant to switch the up close and personal to the bowcaster. So, things happen. And we have the Wookiee Warriors, Kashyyyk Defenders with long gun Wookiees. I think I just tossed up close and personal and everything, actually, now thinking about it for a moment. Just so they'd have that extra dodge token generation. Because other than that, there isn't really much token generation in this list. We have the Radu Nasp Fluttercraft. The Nasp Gunner and the Nasp Bombardier being the 2 of them. This just gives you some nice variation and a couple of vehicles in the list that can mess around with the enemy. Now, before I get into the next set of lists, I do have to say, the Wookiee Defenders are very simple. You shoot, you charge, you kill. Most of their tactics come from using some of the cards at a good time. That all being said, I've been talking a lot about tokens, so let's briefly do a 10-20 second summary of tokens. Aim tokens means you hit harder. You get to reroll hits. Dodge tokens mean you auto-save defense. So lists that generate tokens are good because that's less dice you have to roll and more guaranteed hits. Now on to starting the Separatists. This is a very simple thing. The Invasion Force is a must-buy if you want an endless droid horde, and it does complement the starter box just a little. The Separatists have a lot of different completely valid list builds. They can do B1 hordes, elites, double bounty, double Sith, semi-tank focus, etc. The Separatists are my favorite army sometimes, and it's because of reasons like this. My actual favorite army are the Shadow Collective, but they are a battle force, not an actual army, so Separatists sadly win on a technicality sometimes. Other days, I swear to God, The Shadow Collective is not a battle force, but a full supported model range and army. Definitely, guys, trust me. Well, let's break down some basics on the Separatists. For the leaders, you have a few options, but sometimes the best are the basic tactical and super tactical droid. For troopers, the B1s are cheap and good, the B2s are more expensive, hit harder, and are harder to kill. Special ARPS has a large amount of options. The commando droids can sometimes fail, but the Magna Guards succeed heavily as an elite unit. The support units are Droidekas, DST-1 Dwarf Spider Droids, and the Staff Riders. All of them are good in their own ways. Droidekas are weak competitively, but don't let that stop you from taking them, or loving them, or having 6 of them, because they are cool and fun and great sometimes. They have 2 amazing tanks, the AAT and the NR-N99 Persuader tank. Even though I previously harped on the Persuader, it is solid. The Persuader tank I thought was bad because I misunderstood how Legion worked in a weird way, considering how much I have played it. But no one's perfect, and it is good. They also have a second battle force that is an experimental droid force. On paper, it is interesting. In execution, I don't really like it that much, but that's me. It adds options, it adds a way to buff your droids, it adds a different way to play, and that's great. But I do think it's one of the weaker battle forces they have released. But that is me, being me. I'm weird. And now into some Separatist fun. We have example list 1, the Invasion. I love this list. It's absolutely fantastic. We have General Grievous, battle droids, more battle droids, the IG-100 Magna Guard, Droidekas, and the AAT battle tank. Now let me tell you how this list is amazing. What is going to happen in this list is General Grievous is going to issue an order to the battle droids, who are cheap. They are cheap. They are so cheap. And once you give an order to a single unit of battle droids, they will also give an order to a battle droid within 1 square. You will give an order to a battle droid within 1 square. You will give an order to a battle droid within 1 square. You will give an order to the AAT battle tank, who will pass that order along to the IG-100 Magna Guard or the Droidekas. This is a list about activating your whole entire army. Now, the way activations work, because I haven't had to touch on it yet, is it gives you the ability to activate a unit at any time you want to when it is your turn, and not having to draw from a bag. This gives you control. It gives you immense control and responsiveness, and it's why the Separatists play differently. When you have an army that can react to anything the opponent does, because you can set it up in such a way where you can react amazingly, that is fantastic. Now that being said, this is also a daisy chain. You'll have to be really close to each other. So if that link is broken, it will fall apart. Now let's briefly run over this list. General Grievous is fantastic. He's great. He has commanding presence to give him more orders. He has inspiring presence because the droids have crap courage, and he has his pistol. 2 of the units of battle droids have the E-5C. Just gives them more shooting. The other 2 just have an extra body, because it's what we can afford, and it's 4 more points. The Magna Guard are something you want to get into melee combat if possible, because they are way better than they look like they should be. The Electro Whip allows you to kind of keep an enemy pinned down. Up close and personal gives them a dodge token if they need to shoot at close range. And Tenacity gives them extra attacks, which is always good. Well, attack, specifically. The Droidekas are just great. I love them. They're fun little things. It's kind of hard to kill them sometimes, actually, if the enemy doesn't focus enough fire into them, so that's fun. And the AAT battle tank is one of the best tanks in the game. It just looks so cool, and its guns hit hard. I upgraded this with the Droid Pilot, which passes orders along, and the Bunker Buster shells to just give it more oomph it didn't need because it was already fantastic. Now, example list 2 is the Double Bounty. This will run you just under $200. It has General Grievous, because you would already get him if you wanted to get something like the starter set. Bossk, Cad Bane, a unit of battle droids, 2 more units of battle droids, the IG-100 Magna Guard, the BX Series Droid Commandos, and some Staff Riders. Now, why is this list good? Well, there's a very simple reason why. Bossk and Cad Bane have bounty rules, which means you can get extra victory points by having them kill certain enemy characters. And in a game where sometimes victory is decided by 1 point, having 2 sources of extra victory points that also happen to be 2 really hard-hitting units in the game are fantastic. Grievous is built the same. Bossk is given Tenacity, up close and personal, and targeting scopes, because you want him in the enemy's face. Cad Bane is given long-range comlink, targeting scopes, and electro gauntlets. He can get in the enemy's face, but I've always found him to be better used a little bit further back. We have a naked unit of battle droids. We have 2 battle droids that have an additional battle droid upgrade. We have the same Magna Guard build as previously. And we have some BX series droid commandos with deflector shields and up close and personal. This is another unit that can get in your face, and the deflector shields let them autosave some stuff. I have had decent results actually using the commando droids like this. However, under focused fire, they can sadly crumble a little too fast. And we have some staff riders for some nice fast movement. Now, something I didn't mention in the Naboo invasion list because it's going to come up less often is, you know how the Separatists have this whole alternative activation things I was talking about? Well, they also have something in their list called AI. If they don't have an order that is face up at the start of the turn, and you draw the token and have to activate that unit, they have to take the action that is under AI if possible. What this means is a lot of the time you're going to be taking actions you don't want to do if your activations are not properly set up. It is not that likely to happen in Naboo Invasion, but it can. However, in Double Bounty, because you don't have as much of a chain going around, it is more likely to happen. So something to keep in mind and play around, and learn more about if you're interested in the Separatists. And then we have example list 3, the Double Sith list. This will cost you about $172. We have Count Dooku, Asajj Ventress, 2 Super Battle Droids, a unit of Battle Droids, the same IG-100 Magna Guard that I absolutely love running everywhere, and 2 Dwarf Spider Droids. The point of this list is to show you that there is variation to the Separatists. Count Dooku and Asajj Ventress are fantastic. Asajj is arguably the best unit we have in the game right now with Separatists. She can do so many crazy things all the time, it is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. She should not be able to do everything she does. I have given Count Dooku Force Choke, Saber Throw, and Burst of Speed to get him around more. Giving him a command ability of some kind would probably be a good idea, and I would drop anything from up close and personal to tenacity on any of the people for it. I just didn't think about it when I was building this. The Super Battle Droids have the B2-HA Trooper to give them a little bit extra oomph, and the other is just a naked unit, and it's a naked unit of Battle Droids as well. That is perfectly fine to bring. Especially with core units, it is okay if you want to just bring them to fill in a slot. That's fine. The Dwarf Spider Droids are interesting. I gave one a flamethrower and one a laser cannon. The laser cannon is an all-arounder. The flamethrower is anti-infantry, and actually really good anti-infantry. Only issue is you need to get in the enemy's face with it. I just like the models. They're cool, and it's nice to know that you can bring them. And for 75 points, that nose-mounted flamethrower in 2 rounds of shooting, I mean if it does survive that long, will get its points back by far. Now, as a brief wrap-up, hopefully this gives you a general idea of what to buy if you want to start collecting in the Clone Wars era. And as a brief update, I apologize for not uploading for a full month to those people who are still listening. I have had a month of a lot of medical issues that have come up out of nowhere, out of the blue. It is the life of an adult. Sometimes I wish I was still a kid and didn't really have to deal with as much of this. I am okay. I will be fine. It's just been a really rough month for me, and it made it really hard to continue doing a hobby I really enjoy, which is YouTube. And I do apologize for it. I've been trying to be really consistent, and failing it kind of sucks. Thank you all for watching and sticking around to the end. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If at this point you're still listening, wouldn't hurt to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I will see all of you next Saturday. Maybe sooner. Depends on how motivated I feel after this. Have a good weekend, all.